Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our free July 2025 webinar where you get to ask me anything. About once or twice a year, we like to do the just ask me anything type webinars just because I've covered a lot of content with you. And this is an opportunity to let you ask me more questions since usually I have to rush my questions at the end. So, welcome. And as you're joining, let me know in the chat where you're joining me from. I'm always excited to find out where you are and how's the weather where you are. It's hot here in Southeast Texas, but it's not as hot as it normally has been in the summer. So we have a less hot summer. So I see Jen is joining us from Rockport, Massachusetts. William from Glendale, California. Roger. I'm going to move my chat window so I can see it better. Katie from Portland, Lisa. Oh my goodness, it's moving fast. Hold on, let me slow it down on my end here. Roger, audio's good, video's good, awesome. I think last time we had a little snafu with our video and audio at the very end, so hopefully that won't happen today. Lisa from North Carolina, and it's hot. Yep. Jill, my assistant who's here with us today, lives in North Carolina, so I'm sure she can attest that it's hot also. Maya from Des Moines, Gary from Austin, Texas, Julie from Caldwell, Idaho, Rodrigo from Charlotte, North Carolina, another person from North Carolina, Charla, hello and welcome, Charla. Sandy from Iowa, Cameron from New York City. Jill says, yeah, very hot there too. Is it Kuyen from Oregon, not Orlando, Oregon? Hello. Mary from San Gabriel. I'm trying to say it in Spanish. San Gabriel, California. And William says it's unusually cool in the LA area. So, wow, that's, we are always happy if it's cool in the summertime. Carlos from Colma, California, Andrew from Los Angeles. So again, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here with me today, and I will be answering your biggest questions about paid diagnostic reviews, selling, and pricing. So if you're joining me live, I will give you instructions for where you need to put your questions. If you're joining me via our recording on YouTube later, make sure to put those your questions in the YouTube comments, and then I will be able to answer you there. So my name is Veronica Wasek. So if you've just come across me on social media, maybe found this webinar and decided to join, you don't know who I am. I am Veronica Wasek. I'm the founder of 5-Minute Bookkeeping and 5MB Academy. My purpose in life is to empower bookkeepers to become confident professionals and thriving business owners, and to help you build the life and business of your dreams, because that's what I have been able to do. Some administrative announcements today. So this presentation is subject to copyright, so you may not record it and share it online. It's for your use, and I appreciate that you respect that. We do have a handout today, although because we're doing Q&A, it's not a super exciting handout, but there is a handout, and you have been provided the handout in your webinar window. And we will also be emailing the recording of today's session as well as the link to the handout. So if you have to leave early, no problems. We will send that out to you. You may use the chat to talk amongst yourselves, but I will, especially today, please put your questions in the Q&A tab. So there should be a Q&A tab in your webinar window to put those questions there for me, so that I will be able to find your questions, because the chat gets pretty busy. As I said, I do have with me today my assistant, Jill Keel, and she will be saying hi to you in the chat, and she will share any links or anything that I refer to. And if she does see any questions that you put in the chat by mistake, she will send them over to the Q&A. So that way, again, I will only be looking at the Q&A to answer your questions. So, a little bit about what I have been up to. Several of you have asked me about what's going on in my life, and then you wanted a farm update. So, I will give you both. So, what I have been up to, I have been busy updating my complete QBO cleanup system course. So, that is in the works. I finished updating the QBO paid diagnostic review course a couple of months ago. So, actually, more than a couple of months ago now. And so that course is updated, now working on the cleanup course update. I presented at the Scaling New Heights conference. So if you saw me there or we talked, hello, hello again. And I actually got to present from the main stage, actually co-present. I was answering questions about hiring offshore resources with FinSmart Accounting. So I got to be on the main stage for 10 minutes. So that was a dream come true for me to be on the main stage at Scaling New Heights. And I also co-presented a breakout session on video marketing for accountants. And oh my goodness, I see that I was very ambitious with starting my new workout routine, 25-minute speed train. And I kind of have started. I'm going to say I've started and I'm going to have to start today. So, this is from a Beachbody or Body that they have a new training plan or program called 25-minute speed train. I actually like it. I've done a few, but I haven't, I'm not doing it every day. So, let me know. Let me know in the chat, are you working out or are you doing the 25-minute speed train? Let me know, but I'm going to have to now commit because it's on there. I have to commit to doing it now. So, farm update for those of you who are wondering what's going on at the farm. It's going back to what I said about helping bookkeepers to build the life and business of their dreams. I have been able to build a business of my dreams. I sold it last December, sold my bookkeeping business to focus on education and my content and online courses. And the other thing that I have done that was actually my husband's dream and now became my dream was to own a farm. So we have a 90-acre farm. And so we have if you look at the image on the left with that sunset, that's the Sahara desert sand that you can see that it's hazy. So it does some really cool things when, with our sunset. We have about 40 head of cattle now at the farm. We lease, so they're not our cattle, but they do eat our grass. And so we have lots of mamas and babies, which is very exciting. They're always fun to watch. And we now, because of summer, we have sunflowers. So we have quite a few sunflowers, but it is hot and humid. So I don't quite get out and walk around as much just because it's hot. On the left, you see our rainwater retention tanks. So that is the water that we will drink and use in our house when our house is completed. The tank on the left holds 40,000 gallons and the tank on the right holds 60,000 gallons. They're almost full. We've had quite a bit of rain. And if you look in the middle and then the image on the right, my husband and I have been building this shed that is adjacent to the larger water tank. So it'll hold all of the pump, the filters, ladders and things that we need to maintain the water tank. So that's exciting. And we just need the roof. So we have to get the roof up and then we are done. And then we'll be able to put everything in the shed. I'm keeping an eye on our, on the chat. Oh, thank you, William. William's this beautiful farm. Thank you. We love it. And then this is our house, which we've been building for a while. So we do have now a new rock driveway. So now we can drive up and down without getting stuck in the mud. So things are moving a little bit slow right now with the construction of the house, just because we're needing to have some finished work redone. And so the bulk of it is there. It's like I mean, really, it's like 90% there. And so we're just in that last 10 or so percent is taking a bit longer, but I think it'll be worth it. It'll be worth the wait. We've been waiting for a while. So I'm hoping I think by the end of the year, we should be moved in. But it's just taking a little bit longer than expected, but it's okay. All right. And let's go to the next. Okay. So I'm going to be answering your questions about paid diagnostic reviews, selling, and pricing, which are the topics that we have done in the last 3 months. If you want to throw another type of question in there, I may answer it. I'll let you know if I can't answer it. I would ask you to stay away from any, like, how do you do something in QuickBooks, just because then those take longer to answer, and I don't have QuickBooks in front of me to be able to answer that for you. So we try to keep the questions to pay diagnostic review, selling, and pricing. That's fairly broad already. I would love to answer your questions. And at the end of our webinar, I will be sharing a special discount code on all the 5MB Academy courses. As I said, I founded 5MB Academy. My goal was to help you become a confident professional, a confident business owner, to really help you increase your skill set and your confidence, and to use the systems that I developed in my own bookkeeping business that were are very successful systems. That's what I teach at 5MB Academy. So stick around until the end of today's session, and I will share a special discount code so you can use it to purchase any 5MB Academy course. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my camera here, so you don't have to stare at a slide the whole time. And I'm going to start answering questions. And Dawn, it says, thank you for sharing your farm, a beautiful space for you both. Enjoy the sunflowers. Thank you so much. And it is a beautiful space, and we love it. Like I said, it wasn't my dream, but it became my dream. And that's why now I can't wait. And William says, no chickens. No, we have hog activity and things. So there will be chickens later, I think, once we live there and can properly, have a space for them so that they're protected. All right, so I'm going to switch over to Q&A. So once again, if you have a question, please put that in the Q&A, and I will just go one by one, and I will answer, and we'll go about a little under an hour, about 45 minutes, and we'll end in an hour. That'll be my goal. All right. First question is from Debbie. How do you tell a client that you need to raise their monthly price? That's a great question, Debbie. I'll give you a short answer, and then I'm going to refer you to other resources. So when I switched clients from hourly billing to fixed pricing, which was several years ago, one of the things that I told this one client is that, and even in raising your pricing, is that the pricing, your current pricing does not reflect the value that you're receiving. So we always want to lead with value, lead with what they're getting, remind them of what they're getting, and not like, I need to raise my prices because it's taking me longer to do your work. While it may be taking longer to do their bookkeeping, I would focus on complexity, and I would focus on effort. Okay, so to me, like, hours then translate into effort, translate into complexity, maybe translate into the client's company has grown, so it's taking more effort. And so that's what I generally say. Now, if you want to know exactly what to say to a client to raise their pricing, I do have a paid resource on 5MB Academy, the Bookkeeper's Guide to Confident Communication, in which I have scripts for what you can say to your clients. And then I also show you how to prompt ChatGPT. If for some reason, the 20 some odd scripts that I have are not there, then you can prompt ChatGPT to help you come up with what to say to a client when you don't know what to say. Maya is asking, if I'm just starting up a bookkeeping business, should I take cleanup service? Like, should you accept cleanup clients? And how much is the cleanup course? Okay, so if you're just starting bookkeeping, and let's assume that you have bookkeeping training and that you know how to use QuickBooks, you more than likely will have cleanup clients, just because most clients who have attempted to do their own bookkeeping have messed up their books in some way, shape, or form. So while you can say that, hey, I'm only going to work with brand new business owners, you might do that for a time, but eventually you will work with clients who have their own bookkeeping and who have messed it up. So I would say at some point you do need to learn bookkeeping skills and the processes around bookkeeping. And so there is a course on 5MB Academy, the Complete QBO Cleanup System. I will ask Jill to link that for you, and then you can see the pricing on that sales page. Rodrigo says, hi, Veronica. I'd like to know how much to charge a customer whose characteristics are the following. Oh my, okay. I'm going to not answer that question exactly because I'm going to have to think about it. And I'm not good at talking and thinking. I will say a couple of things about it. We first of all, find the recording of the webinar that I did on pricing. I hope, and Jill, you can let them know in the chat. Is that live on YouTube yet? I don't recall. It maybe we haven't posted it yet. I don't know. But I did do a webinar on pricing where I talked about different methods of pricing, and also the fact that we tend to way overthink pricing, because I see, Rodrigo, that you've given me a lot of details and numbers of products. Wow, that's a lot. 4,000 to 6,000 items. That's a lot. And so, and in fact, for a client that size, you might even have to do some sort of paid analysis to really figure out what they have and what you would charge. Just because if you're doing all the bookkeeping, monitoring inventory, accounts payable, etc., it's really getting into much more hands-on. And there is a risk that you may underprice. So again, I will stay away from giving you exact how much to price, just because I don't think this is the right setting for me to do that. But again, 5MB Academy does have a resource called Simple Pricing System that you might look at. Although I would say for what you're describing, Rodrigo, is probably beyond what that resource covers. And I will also say that the system that I have used in the past, that I ended up like doing all these methods for pricing, and finally decided that that percentage of revenue was the way to go for me. So that's what's included in the simple pricing system. All right, Cameron is asking, what is the best way to add a new account to an existing client agreement, and best way to price it for ongoing support? So this is for an existing client. I'm going to assume that that's a bank account when you're saying a new account. So typically when a client, let's say you have an engagement letter or a signed engagement letter, signed a service agreement with a client, and now there are things that are out of scope of that engagement letter, you just do a new engagement letter. So I normally didn't bother to do addendums and things. I would just do a new engagement letter with new pricing, and I would just explain that you have a new bank account. This taking additional effort, and so we need to revise our engagement letter, and here's the new one. Here's the new monthly price. All right, Annie says, I'm new to the bookkeeping business and have encountered clients who need both basic bookkeeping and tax preparation services. I'm unsure whether to collaborate with a tax professional, like refer and earn a referral fee or establish a partnership or learn tax preparation myself and expand my service offerings? For those with experience, what would you recommend? Are there major risks or benefits to either approach? That is a great question, Annie, and one that I have a certain point of view about it. Others disagree, so I will give you my point of view. When I started my bookkeeping business 15 years ago, and I'm now a retired CPA, but I was a CPA. I had experience in accounting and tax. I decided to not offer tax preparation services. And the reason was because every time that I worked for another CPA, the only things that were prioritized in that accounting firm were anything that was tied to a deadline. So that meant that the tax returns were always prioritized, and everything else, like client service, just even returning a call from a client or an email, answering a question, doing their bookkeeping, all just took the back seat. And so that was one reason, is I don't want my firm to be all about tax returns and then have my clients suffer and give them bad service because that's all I can do. And I also looked at, okay, what kind of life do I want to have? Do I want to be able to go on vacation? Do I want to be able to take off for spring break? Because if you're going to do tax returns, you will never get a spring break off again. Okay, unless spring break is after April 15th. But most spring breaks are in March. And I remember working very hard when I worked for other CPAs. I worked very hard in the spring. I barely saw the light of day. And here in the Texas area, we get a very short spring, which is beautiful weather, but it's very short. And then we just go into hot and humid 90-degree plus for several months. And so I miss the beautiful springs. So I thought, nope, I don't want to offer tax services. In fact, I didn't really want to offer even payroll just because of the deadlines. So having said that, though, I mean, doesn't make sense to have bookkeeping clients for whom you do tax preparation? Maybe for the right type of client, but also keep in mind that you're going to have to really specialize in tax preparation. Because, even just now we have the new, the big beautiful bill. There's some tax changes that you have to stay up with all of the tax changes, and you have to really get that experience in working on client tax returns. And so you have to commit to not just developing the skill set for bookkeeping, virtual bookkeeping apps, systems and processes of doing your bookkeeping in an efficient and profitable way. Now you have to learn this another area of complexity and also develop all of these systems and processes around that. So I hope that answers your question and helps you make a decision. Katie says, and there are no silly questions, Katie, but it says, I have a phone call with my first potential client later today. The person who referred me to the company said they need some catch up done at the very least. Do you write a proposal for the diagnostic review and then a second proposal for the continuing work? Okay, so I don't write proposals for work. I provide engagement letters to clients. So once we do a discovery call, so let's just say for the diagnostic review, we're going to do a discovery call, or in your case, you might even go talk to that client at their office, however that works. But you're going to go through the process of discovery. Let's say that they do need some catch up or cleanup work. Then I would offer the diagnostic review and look for the webinar recording where I talked about doing diagnostic reviews. And then in my YouTube channel, I have a whole new set of videos about the diagnostic review and getting a lot deeper into the diagnostic review. But I would then offer the diagnostic review. And if they agree to it, then I send an engagement letter for the diagnostic review. So then once I did the diagnostic review and find all the things that are wrong with their books, all the things that I would do to get their books caught up and cleaned up, then I would give them, again, tell them these are all the things we need to do. Here's the pricing for these services. And then if they agree to it, I would send an engagement letter. In both instances, I may follow up with an email, just kind of letting them know this is what we discussed. These are the services. This is the pricing, but I'm not going to spend the time to do a formal proposal just because proposals take too much time and it just slows down the selling process, in my opinion. William is asking, what ideas do you have for a hook on an email or mail blast? I don't want to look cheap, so no discounts. How do I get a business owner to open or read the message? That's a great question. And this is where I use ChatGPT a lot, just because I tell ChatGPT, this is what I'm trying to do. Give me some wording with that exact wording, I think is what I would give to ChatGPT so that it would come up with some good options. Having said that, I'm not a big fan of emailing clients, essentially spamming them, or emailing potential clients. Not a big fan of that, just because, in my opinion, that's spam and I hate to get it. But it is a numbers game. Let's say if you purchased a list of business owners and you're emailing them, I mean, you're going to have to send like a good couple of hundred or more to get clients, again, using the right subject line for your email. Gloria is saying, best workflow during sales process, is it best to review proposal with them on a call to increase chances to close? I'm currently doing this: call, possible diagnostic review, send proposal, and then have them book another call to review the proposal. So I think I already answered what the process is. So again, I don't send proposals. And I don't go, if I go over something, will be the engagement letter itself, with the client, and then make sure that you look for the webinar recording where I went into, the selling process. And, there's also a new resource on 5MB Academy, the virtual, or rather the bookkeepers. Now my mind just went blank. Sorry. The bookkeepers, sales script vault. So it's bookkeepers sales script vault that goes more into the selling process. And it has scripts for what I say, to clients, at each step of the way for each type of service, that you would provide, like a diagnostic review, a cleanup, monthly bookkeeping. And if I didn't answer your question, Gloria, if you need more information, please ask again. Natalie is asking, are you still doing advisory work in the Facebook group? I haven't done advisory work recently, so if you want to clarify what you mean by that. I mean, I've done very little one-on-one. I mostly focus on YouTube videos, online courses, but have maybe a handful of people that I might have worked with one-on-one. And I would call it consulting rather than advisory. So if you can clarify for me, Natalie, I would appreciate that. Teresa is asking, how long do we have access to your courses and course updates? Lifetime access. So any course that you purchase from me, you get lifetime access. And then as I update, so if I say I'm updating the cleanup course, then all of the updates are included in that course. Now, if I come up with a brand new course, generally people don't get access to a new course. But any existing course that you have, you get lifetime access. Cameron says, not sure if this is the right forum, but what would be the best way to handle a transition for a current client that was approved for a prorated S-Corp election? they are going from sole proprietor LLC to S corp. Not sure the best place to check to close the books and what to do on QBO. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I think there's some tax implications there, and some things that are more in depth than what I can answer now, or that I'm not sure if I know the answer either. Okay, Giovanna says QB training said not to change entries once the period has been reconciled. So what is the difference when doing a cleanup? That's a great question. And there's an entire methodology for doing cleanups and what you can change and what you cannot change, which period to adjust or not adjust. A lot of it depends on the tax entity that the company's filing under. So you might be able to make some changes for a sole proprietor that you cannot make to an S corporation or a partnership or a corporation. And so it's more than I can get into in this call. But the gist of it, as far as not to change entries once the period has been, I would say, closed, even reconciled, that is correct. But there's a method for then how you make those changes. Now, if a period has been reconciled, also, we don't want to make changes to, like, say, the amount of a transaction or the date of the transaction, because it will throw the reconciliation off. So again, you have to then look at the setting in which, why would you be doing that? So let's just say, like a bank reconciliation, that maybe this transaction needs to be changed to something else. Like maybe we marked the wrong transaction in the bank reconciliation, and we need to mark another transaction as reconciled in that reconciliation. Then there's a process to do that. You have to go into and you have to either unmark that reconciliation unmark that transaction as reconciled, then go into the reconciliation, mark or check the correct transaction as reconciled, and then you essentially have to redo the reconciliation. So it's probably more than I can say verbally here, because a lot of this you have to see it. But I do cover that in my QBO cleanup course. Maria, hello Maria, says, how do you choose the small clients based on revenue level and industry to serve when you are a solo operator and doing remote services? I'm not sure if I understand. Like, are you asking me how do I know what the revenues are, so in order to determine whether I would work with them? So if that's the question, part of the discovery process when a potential client books a call is to fill out a form. So essentially, they're going to go onto your online calendar. I use TidyCal. So TidyCal, it's either $29 or $39 lifetime. So it's like a no-brainer. Okay, you need to go buy TidyCal. So with TidyCal, they can go and book a call with you. And then there's an intake form that you set up that will ask them any number of questions that you want to ask. But primarily, I want to know what their industry is, number of employees, like their website, and then annual revenues is one of the questions that I ask, that then I will know by the time they meet with me, I will know more about them and then be able to get a sense of how I would price their services. If I didn't answer your question correctly, Maria, please ask again. David is asking, how did you present your offerings for just book accounting to potential clients, as so many small businesses go straight to how does this impact taxes? They need to have a clear understanding of their financial statements, not just tax implications. That is a great question. So whenever I would present, let's say, monthly bookkeeping services to a client, and I may have given them an option of either 2 packages or 3 packages. kind of over time decided 2 packages was better so that they didn't have so many choices to look at. And the other thing here to consider is that business owners are more concerned about the tax impact. Okay. So even though we as accounting professionals, bookkeepers, accountants, want to talk about timely and accurate financial statements, clients are not, they're not staying up in the middle of the night and say, like, if I only had timely and accurate financials, I could save money on taxes. Or if I only had financials that were accurate, then I would I would feel better about my business. So we know that as professionals, but we still have to, I think in our marketing and our selling, still have to consider what is important to a prospective client, and then along the way, educate them about the power of the financial statements. But the financials in and of themselves, in my opinion, is not what that prospective client values. David says, how did you present your offer? Okay. I think that's the same question. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go to Karen. When you speak about engagement letters and proposals, what are the differences? Okay. So a proposal. So, some people call a proposal, this multi-page document in which they're going to present their potential services up to clients with pricing, but it's not a contract. It's just like, I would like to cut your hair, and this is what I will do with your hair, and this is how much it will cost. Do you accept the proposal? And that person can say yes. But in the bookkeeping and accounting world, you should have a legally binding contract. So the contract is what we call the engagement letter or the service agreement. And so the engagement letter will include the services to be provided. It includes the amount that you will charge. It has payment terms. It has terms of service. It has your policies for securing your clients' information. It has many, many other things on that engagement letter. And in fact, there is an engagement letters course in 5MB Academy that gives you sample engagement letters, and all the reasons why we kept adding additional wording to it. So a proposal to me is where you're just letting your prospective client know, like, these are the services that we propose that we think you need, and this is the pricing. And then the engagement letter is really the contract that has all the legal lingo to protect yourself and the client. And that really becomes the cornerstone of this is what we're going to provide, and this is the price. So then anything that is outside of that engagement letter in terms of your scope of services, if let's say it's like someone earlier asked, what if they have a new bank account and I want to charge them more? Then normally I would do a new engagement letter, because the scope of service of that current engagement letter is no longer reflective of what's really going on in the business. Carlos says, when you have cleaned up 2 accounting periods and agreed to to bill a flat fee with a client, and there is a 3rd period to clean, but at this time the client says the volume of sales was less than the prior periods, although the complexity is similar, what can I do to keep the same price? I think you just tell them what your pricing is. So hopefully you have gotten paid for the 2 accounting periods and gotten that flat fee. And then by then you should have proven yourself and your ability to clean up the books. And so, volume of sales has nothing to do with a cleanup, in my opinion. It's just more about what you're cleaning up. So if the complexity is similar and that's what you think, you're the professional, then you tell the client how much it will be. Okay, Aris says, what is your opinion on using Google for getting new clients as a new business in bookkeeping? If you're talking about something like Google My Business, I think that's what it's called. It might have changed names, but it used to be referred to as Google My Business. Then I think everybody should have a profile on Google for people to find you. In terms of paid ads through like Google or Facebook, I'm not a big fan of paid ads. Maybe just because I don't know how to use them. So, but it can't hurt. I think you just have to be aware of, I think when you're doing ads, you have to be very specific of who is your ideal client, who are you speaking to, and then give them a very clear, give them a very clear path for what they do next. Because I've seen people who do Facebook ads and then it says, click here, learn more. And then it takes you to some giant website that you don't know what to do next. So you really have to have a sales funnel at that point, of maybe a landing page where they're doing like one specific thing that you want them to do, rather than having them go into some giant website where they will just get lost and not take the next step. Arisa is asking, if we want consulting services from you, how can you be reached? I'm not doing any one-on-one consulting at this time. I mean, you can reach out to me through 5MB Academy or 5-Minute Bookkeeping. Just use the contact page. We can discuss, but I'm generally not doing one-on-one consulting, but just reach out in case I know someone who can help you, or maybe if it's something that I think I might want to take on, I'll let you know. But generally speaking, I don't provide one-on-one. Daniel says, hi, Veronica. Thanks a lot for your continued professional updates. You're welcome. I would like to know, how do you handle a situation where a client gives you a specific job with a specific price in your engagement letter? Is this, in this particular case, a bank reconciliation job? Later on, when doing their bank reconciliations, you discover there's an account that has a reconciliation discrepancy report, which means you may need to go back to previous periods and review transactions, correct them, and catch up. So like a diagnostic audit and cleanup before you continue with the bank reconciliations. How do you handle such a situation, given that you already started with a bank reconciliations job? I would point it out to the client. So essentially what Daniel's saying, a client hired them to do a bank reconciliation, and now they're saying that there's additional problems that may need a cleanup. And this, number one, never take a bank reconciliation, because it's never just a bank reconciliation. Nothing is ever what the client thinks that it is. Okay. Never, ever. After doing hundreds of cleanups, clients don't know what is wrong with their books. They have no clue. And so they like to use the word reconcile my books, or clean up the chart of accounts, or do like just a little cleanup for the tax return. They never have a clue what's actually going on with their books. And so I always do a paid diagnostic review just to get a sense of what it is that they really need. And also, I will never do a partial, if the client has done all these things and they just want you to do this one thing, I don't take those clients either, just because I cannot be held responsible for all these other things they didn't know about, or all the other things that are wrong with their books, because they're going to say, I hired Veronica and her team to clean up my books, when in fact, maybe they just, Veronica and her team cleaned up this much and the rest of it's all messed up, because then their accountant will know, maybe their banker, and then I'm getting a bad reputation because I didn't do the full cleanup. So Daniel, in the future, just say no, or do a diagnostic review. But in this situation, because you're already working with the client, then I would bring it up to the client's attention and just say that, you have hired me to do the bank reconciliation, but now I see that there's additional cleanup, and I would show them, and just let them know that is outside of your current engagement, and then ask them what would they like to do. So, and then give them the options of, either they can ignore it, or I don't know if that's even possible, but, or that be aware that that's there and work with their CPA on that or something, or that, I can clean this up for you, and the pricing for this is, and then you give them the pricing. Or I think in this case, I would then say, because I'm seeing these issues, I would recommend doing a paid diagnostic review so I can take a deeper look and get a full understanding of what's wrong with your books, because I guarantee that that's not the only thing that's messed up with our books. All right. Kuyen, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, says, I was able to reconcile the transactions in QBO and bank statements and ran the P&L to do a tax return, but the balance sheets are out of balance and a lot of weird things on there. How should I go about it? Should I clean it up or leave it as this, since the owner just needs the P&L for tax purposes? So, number one, you should have an engagement letter. And the engagement letter should say that you're only doing the P&L. Okay. So if that's the case, and even if that's not the case, the client hasn't hired you to clean up anything else. So you should not be touching the other parts of the client's books, because you were not hired to do that. So think about it this way. If you go to the doctor and you're going to have a surgery, maybe to remove your tonsils, for example, and then the doctor says that, oh, well, there's this other thing I need to remove while I'm there. You did not hire your doctor, engage your doctor to do any other kind of work. And so you have to make sure that you're staying within what you have been hired to do, and then approach your client about these other things. And again, I would probably go into a diagnostic review, because you don't know the extent of this other cleanup. And Trish is saying, where can we access your paid diagnostic review course? So it is on 5NB Academy. Jill, if you can share the link to the paid diagnostic review course. And that course has been newly updated. So Jill will share that link with you. And it includes the entire process for how I do the paid diagnostic reviews, how I present them to the client, how I sell them, how I go through the books step by step, how I put together my report of findings and recommendations, and then how I present the report of findings to the client and offer additional services. Maria says, Vedo, that's my nickname. When you do a paid diagnostic review, what period do you usually review? The very last month closed or the whole year? So typically when doing a paid diagnostic review, we are looking at the books from the last time that a tax return was filed. So for example, if a tax return was filed for 2024, for the year of 2024, then we would be doing a diagnostic review of 2025. Marianne says, I had a real estate investor client whose books I cleaned up, but the issue was and by the way, it looks like we're doing now questions about cleanups, which I'm happy to answer if I can. In case somebody says, but she says she wasn't going to answer that, but I guess now I caught myself answering questions about cleanup. So we'll keep going if I can answer. So Maria says, I had a real estate investor client whose books I cleaned up, but the issue was they never provided the HUD for a property they purchased. They initially said they would look for it, but in the end, nothing came through. They insisted they didn't have it. Since no tax returns were submitted either, I had no point of reference aside from their bank and credit card statements, so I had to clean up the books based solely on those. I'm curious, how do you handle clients like this? That is a good question, because typically I would have to consider the cleanup as not done, not completed, if the client doesn't give me everything that I need. So let's say this client totally does not have this, I would probably have to then say, based on, that I have completed your bookkeeping based on the information available to me, but that you really need this HUD statement in order to make sure that everything is accurate. I would also make sure that their CPA knew that as well, that I would get this in writing and save this in my permanent files in case for any reason it affected their tax return, they got audited, or they tried to get a loan or whatever, that I would be covered, letting the client know that I was not able to do all the work. Okay, Katie, okay, we're doing good on time. Katie, when do you bill clients to avoid clients not paying for a monthly service? So all clients are on auto payment. They pay on the first of the month. Okay, so no work gets done unless they have paid. So you have to put your clients on auto payment. You can use QuickBooks payments. You can use Anchor as well. There's many, like people use Stripe. There's all kinds of things. Anchor is one that I like. If you set up recurring sales receipts on QuickBooks Online and set up your clients to pay either via ACH or credit card, then those will process every month, but you have to get paid at the beginning of each month. And I learned the hard way. There's a video where I talk about how I lost $20,000 for look for that because I give you all the details of how I lost that kind of money just because I wasn't getting paid in advance. So I learned a very valuable lesson to always get paid in advance, or to at least for cleanups, get paid 50% up front or get paid every week. But you want to be getting paid by your client on a regular basis so that you're never doing work for free or never risking that you will not get paid. Gary's asking, is there a general rule when to update the entire client agreement versus adding addendums? So I always updated client agreements or engagement letters once a year at a very minimum, just to because my professional liability insurance actually required it. Also to increase client spot prices every single year, which we did. We increased their pricing every year. We did a minimum of a 5% increase each year. And so that was once a year. And then, as I said before, if there's anything that is out of scope, then we would do a new engagement letter to cover that. Dee Dee says, thanks for your time, Veronica. You're welcome. How can I listen to the recordings? I missed the beginning because I had another video meeting. So we will be sending the recording out to everyone. Probably by tomorrow, you'll get the recording. Valerie says, when you update a course, does the other course go away? No. So all courses are updated. Like if you bought the course, and then once I update everything, you'll just see updated content. The other course doesn't go away, but some of the older, outdated content, those lessons will go away because they'll be replaced with newer lessons. And Ruby Mar says, hello, I have a client that likes to lend money between his sister company to his main company. I'm not fully sure I'm allocating all the transactions correctly, especially when he receives money from a client in one company on behalf of the sister company. How can I learn about this? So yes, there is intercompany accounting, but I'm not a big fan of intercompany accounting. It is sort of this old style corporate way of doing things. You have to respect the entities. And so I always would do, if company A needs to pay company B, then company B invoices company A. So they treat each other as independent companies. That is the best thing you can do to protect your client, because there's something called piercing the corporate veil. So piercing the corporate veil. If you look that up, it's a legal terminology in which companies they act like there's just one big commingling, and they can have legal implications for that company. Okay, I'm going to take a quick aside here. I will answer your question, Carrie, and anyone else who wants to answer, but I want to make sure that I share the discount code that I mentioned earlier. So let me switch to my slides. And okay, so first of all, for resources, so my YouTube channel, I talked about look for this video, that video, that's all on my YouTube channel at 5mbvideo.com. The handle is 5-Minute Bookkeeping. So if you look at 5-Minute Bookkeeping on YouTube, you will also get there. 5MB Academy at 5mbacademy.com. to be notified about my latest content, webinars, courses, everything going on. Sign up for my newsletter. I usually only send it once a month, so you will not be drowning in email from me because I don't like that. Okay, so I told you about 5MB Academy and my desire to help bookkeepers build the bookkeeping business and life of their dreams, and to be confident and to really provide competent and confident services to our industry. So I do want to share a special discount code with you. So it is 15% discount on all courses. So use the coupon code 5MBSummer25 in the checkout page. And the sale actually ends on Wednesday. I put Tuesday, but it actually ends on Wednesday of next week. So July 23rd. That is when the sale ends. So you have a QR code there as well to check out all the courses. Jill is sharing the discount code with you and the link. So be sure to take advantage of all of that. And that is on all courses. Sometimes we'll put some courses on sale or other courses on sale. This is all courses. So I'm very excited about that and excited to share all these resources with you. All right. Let me switch back to, well, I'll leave that up for a little bit there for you guys to look. And let's see, Carrie has a question. In terms of selling the diagnostic review, how do you demonstrate the value of this when a lot of bookkeepers do this for free? Okay. I actually don't know if a lot of bookkeepers are doing like a real diagnostic review for free. I mean, you can find on 5MB Academy, there's a free resource called the Smart Review, where you can look at a client's books for 15 minutes for free. Okay. And I'd show you what to look for. So look for that. That is the Smart Review system. So that is for free. But in actual, like, we're going to open up the hood and we're going to check the oil and the this and that, all the fluids, everything, like do a full under the hood checkup. That is very different. And so the paid diagnostic review system that I teach is the full blown, like we're going to check everything and give the client a report of findings and recommendations. And it has a proven system for taking a client through first offering the paid diagnostic review, the engagement letter, then how to conduct the diagnostic review, putting together the report of findings and recommendations, going over the report with the client. So it's a very professional process. Whereas I think if others are doing it for free, it's probably because they're only doing a very small portion of what a true diagnostic review should be. So I will refer you to the QBO Paid Diagnostic Review System course. And then there's also the Bookkeepers Sales Script Vault, in which I actually take you through the scripts for how to offer the paid diagnostic review to a prospective client. And Annie says, many CPAs are doing bookkeeping services as well. What makes people who only do bookkeeping services stand out? It's a number of things. First of all, just standing out, just being you. Okay, you cannot be like a vanilla bookkeeper. You have to, there's got to be something different about you, something you're doing different, something about your story, something that where you're standing out. The other is specialization. So to have a specialty, because CPAs don't normally have a specialization. And so for me, for the company that I just sold, that was e-commerce was our specialty. And very few bookkeepers and accountants or CPAs know how to do e-commerce well. And so find an area of specialty. And I think then you have to focus on what is it that you can give your client that a CPA can't. It's usually attention. CPAs are known for not getting back to their clients on time, to just ignoring clients most of the time, that they don't have the time to give to clients to give them that personal touch of like, hey, we get back to you within 24 hours, for example. All right. And then there is a course on 5MB Academy, my 3-step marketing system for introvert bookkeepers, in which I talk about how to stand out, how to position yourself, how to find a niche, how to find your ideal client, and several other things. All right. So we are at 1 hour into our webinar. So I think we covered everything. I'm so proud of myself. Usually we go longer. So thank you so much for joining me today. I enjoyed answering your questions. I enjoyed interacting with you. I hope that I have pointed you in the right direction. And if I didn't answer your question, or if you have a follow-up, please go to my Facebook group, 5-Minute Bookkeeping Community, to ask more questions. I will be there in the group to answer. And then you can also connect with the rest of our community as well. So we will see you next time, and take care, everyone. Bye.